After arriving back at the White House last night, tonight President Trump is abruptly ending negotiations with Democrats over a new COVID stimulus bill, tweeting, "I am rejecting the request, and immediately after I win, I will pass a major stimulus bill." His own Federal Reserve chairman warned of a tragic fallout.
Too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses.
Politically, this is such a questionable move going into the election. I'm not frankly sure that President Trump is going to stick to his guns on this issue.
Also breaking tonight, White House senior advisor Stephen Miller is the latest member of President Trump's inner circle to test positive for coronavirus. In a statement, he said he's been working remotely and self-isolating and tested negative for COVID until yesterday. The stunning news came as the White House continues to deal with the fallout from the president's COVID diagnosis and a slew of other White House staff who have also come down with the virus.
We feel terrible for anybody that gets COVID. It really goes against the messaging of the White House, which of course is everything's fine. We're going to have a miracle solution in short order.
Miller's diagnosis comes as crews in hazmat suits attempt to disinfect the White House, trying to slow the spread as other top staffers also contracted the virus, including communication aides and now reportedly one of Trump's military aides.
I don't want to go backwards.
The president's doctors, who have not briefed reporters since the president left the hospital, sending out this 4-sentence update after meeting with him today, saying his vital signs are stable and that the president reported he has no symptoms.
And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know.
The president is acting as if he's fully recovered, wanting to return to the Oval Office and the campaign trail, even though he's still believed to be contagious and on powerful medications, including the steroid dexamethasone. Doctors say a patient's energy level can dramatically crash once treatment ends. President Trump's doctors also have not released the results of his chest x-rays, which would reveal if he has lung damage or pneumonia. In a highly choreographed made-for-TV spectacle, President Trump returned to the White House Monday. Despite still being infected, he removed his mask, stood on the White House balcony, and told Americans the virus is not that big of a deal in a video he later tweeted out.
Don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it.
Contrasts that statement with what Trump told journalist Bob Woodward in February.
It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is deadly stuff.
The president's latest statement about the virus brought a sharp rebuke from some families who have lost loved ones. Amanda Klutz's husband and Broadway star Nick Cordero died of COVID in July.
Let it dominate your life? No one's letting it. Nick didn't let it. It wasn't a choice. Have some empathy to the people who are suffering and grieving.
And it's not just the White House reeling from the coronavirus. Virtually all the senior, most military officers in the Pentagon are now quarantined and working from home, starting with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, and the vice chairman, General John Hyten, who was in charge of the military's response to the coronavirus. Also today, President Trump tweeted out some misleading information about how deadly COVID is. In the past 7 months, COVID has killed more people than the flu did in 5 years combined here in the U.S. I'm Tom Waite, KCAL 9 News.